So this is vlog 5. After recording this, I will finish up packing for another trip. I'm going camping to the Ardennes with my youngest daughter and 2 of her friends. It's kind of a birthday party camping trip for her. My girlfriend Griet is also coming along with her godson. After those 2 days, we'll stay in the Ardennes, where I will be doing my very first wild workshop. And I'm going to try to vlog the camping trip and the wild workshop for you. I've learned a lot about vlogging, what to do and what not to do while I was editing the first 4 vlogs. I'm going to try to implement some of those things as soon as possible. I'm going to try to make it a bit more clear, and I'm going to try to focus a bit more on photography, starting with what I'll be taking on the camping trip with my daughter and her friends. First of all, I'm taking my trusty X Pro 2 with the 35mm f2 lens. The other camera that I'm taking with me is my X70, the small little Fujifilm X70. And it's a camera that is basically always with me, and I've got a lot of questions of people to ask me to do a review about it. I won't be doing a full review because I think there's plenty of reviews already out, but I might tell you what I like, what I don't like, and why I actually take this camera with me all the time. The first time I came into contact with the X70, or what would be the X70, was a couple of years ago in Japan. I was in a meeting with Fujifilm, with the engineers, and they presented us some of their ideas, some of their prototypes, not even prototypes, mock-ups, real loose ideas, to just feel what we would think about it. I was in that meeting with Kevin Mullins, David Hobby and Zacharias, and so they kind of organized this meeting to get a feel about what we would think about their future plans. And one of them was this camera, or what would become this camera. The specifications were a bit different at that time, but basically we all said, why? Why would you need something under an X100S at that time? And my opinion changed completely as soon as I held it in my hands. At that moment I completely got it. This is a camera that I can put into my trousers pocket. It is not that much smaller as an X100, but it is just a tiny bit smaller. That makes it easier to take it with you. And I must confess that ever since I had the X70, I haven't used my X100T anymore. I feel sometimes a bit guilty because I love that camera so much, but still this seems to be, to me, more practical to take with me every day. This camera arrived just a day or 2 before I went on a trip to Cuba, and I decided to take it. Basically this was also the same setup as I will be taking on my trip now, X70 and the X Pro 2 with the 35. And I was like, let's try it out, let's see what it does in the real world. And immediately it clicked. Immediately I had a very good vibe with this camera, and I loved working with it. And I probably shot more pictures in Cuba with the X70 than with my X Pro 2. Although this was a very dedicated photography trip, it was about photography and nothing else. But I really enjoyed working with this little camera during that trip. The one standout feature that won me over completely in the beginning is the flip screen. The screen flips out and it tilts. You can even take selfies, which is nice. Not really the selfie thing, because I don't really use that very often. I'm too ugly to take selfies. But the flip screen allows you to get different angles, but also make sure that people don't notice that you're taking pictures of it. Once you're pointing a camera in someone's face, they know that you're taking a picture. When you're looking at that, is that line from the eye to another person through a camera. Now, if you shoot like this when looking down, people just don't know that you're taking pictures of them. So I really like that. Also, I'm a very tall guy, so it's much easier for me to shoot at eye level with the screen. I must admit that at first I did this a couple of times because I'm so used to have the electronic viewfinder and then find out, oh, it doesn't have a viewfinder. But after a couple of days I was completely used to not having a viewfinder, and I know that a lot of people are suspicious about that, are doubting about it. Can you really work without the viewfinder? I can only tell you that yes, I can. Maybe not everyone, but for this type of camera I really don't need the viewfinder. It's true that in hard sunlight the screen is a bit less easier to see and everything, but I don't find it too limiting in any way. There's an optical viewfinder that you can slide in the hot shoe, which is basically just a window that gives you more or less the right framing. It isn't exactly right. There's no information in the viewfinder. There's no focus confirmation settings, nothing. And I find it pretty expensive for what it is, but some people may probably like it. It's probably a good piece of glass, but I'm not gonna get one for this camera. I don't see the point. There's also a wide angle converter for this lens. I've tried that a couple of times. It makes it into a 21mm. Now it's like a 28, something like that, compared to full frame. And that is really very wide if that's the kind of thing that you like. So that is definitely an option. But for me, I'm going to use it the way it is, just like this. I find it perfect. I had to get used to the lens a little bit because I'm used to the 23mm on the X100, and this is like an 18.5, which compares to 28mm something in full frame format, which is a bit wider still than the 35 equivalent X100. Had to get used to it a little bit, but because I can get so close to people with this camera, it doesn't matter me at all, and for some situations it's better to be wider, so I quickly adapted to that. It is a limiting factor, of course. It's a fixed lens, wide angle camera, but there's a feature that's basically an electronic zoom, and you can set it to 35mm equivalent or 50mm equivalent, which is basically just interpolation of the files. I've never been a big fan of digital zooms, but it works. I don't see the difference between a shot with a digital zoom set at 50mm and one without digital zoom. I cannot tell the difference in image quality, even if I look really, really close. It's very hard to see, so the Fuji engineers clearly did something magical about it to make it work. The downside is that it only works in JPEG mode. It's not ideal, it's not the same as using a longer lens, but it really works, so I don't hesitate to use it. Let me tell you some of the things that I don't really like about these X70 cameras. First of all, it doesn't have the same sexiness as the X100 camera, but at the same time that's also a good thing. And this is a bit more plain. I also got the pure black version, which just makes it look like an everyday compact camera. It also doesn't have the built-in ND filter that comes standard in the X100T camera. There's not so often that I need it, but sometimes it comes in handy. Yeah, there's no viewfinder, but that's the trade-off for its compact size, so I'm not going to complain about the lack of a viewfinder. What I don't like is the tiny buttons, and that also comes, of course, with the fact that the body is so small. But like these buttons that are so close to the flip-out screen, they're very hard to reach. You really have to push them with the point of your finger. Also the video button, is very recessed, and you really have to push it in order to make it work. Talking about video, I've actually I wanted to use this camera first as my vlogging camera, because it would have been easy to have it on my always with me camera. But I found that the autofocus, even though it works quite well in video mode, is a bit noisy. There's always this clicking, ticking noise, and if that's always on the audio of my vlogs, I didn't like that. Last thing that I don't like too much, this is a now it's a touchscreen, and in playback mode that's quite nice because you can swipe, you can zoom by pinching just like you're used to with your phone. So I really like it in playback mode, but when you're in shooting mode, it's sometimes a bit too easy to, by touching the screen, you can change the autofocus point too easy. You can put the touchscreen off so it doesn't work, but the way to do it is by this button on the touchscreen. So I found that and it happened to me several times, that even though it's set to off, if I touch this, it is back on. So this part of the screen is sensitive to, even if the touchscreen is off, I can still put it on. So I would like to have that in a menu item, so I can just set it to off, and people who like it can still use it. But that's just a small little interface thing. So what do I do like about this camera is the size. To me, it's all about the size. It's a full-grown camera with all the settings that you can want in such a small package. That's, to me, the reason for this camera. That's the reason why it exists. That's the reason why I take it with me all the time. It's also a lot of fun to shoot with this camera because it's so easy to shoot with. There's also this auto mode, which basically switches the camera into dummy mode, which is very handy if you want to hand it over to somebody else. My kids take pictures with it, and they wouldn't do that with the X100, or it was too complicated for them to work with. If you put it into auto mode, it's just nice, works quite well. The tilt screen, and like I said, it's just a small camera with big camera performance, and that to me makes it my always with me camera. So enough about cameras. I'm going to finish packing, load up my car so we can leave tomorrow morning for our camping trip. So I'll see you in the next vlog with a bit more action, but maybe a bit less talking.